people just seem to be, as I mentioned, like taking it into their stride a little bit with these interest rates. And I guess the people
it's an interesting one, mate, because you're coupling that now with increased energy costs. You're talking about gas, electricity, petrol. Combine those three with increased interest rates, and that's absolutely going to cause stress. I remember living in Woolloomooloo. We lived in a housing commission house, and I'm sure we'll touch on this later. But I lived in a home with a brother and a sister, and my mother was a single parent. And mate, any uptick of any sort was detrimental to what we ate that night. Grocery shopping, decreased substantially, and things got trimmed when costs went up, whether it be utilities or whatever it may be, rent, what have you. So the stress is across the board, and from the point of view of what you've gained and what you haven't gained, it doesn't really matter if you don't need to sell. But if you're contemplating it and you're on the cusp of making your repayments and all the costs associated with that as well to keep the house running, then it's sort of a stressful time. But
absolutely. I think
there are a number of different markets too that in the marketplace. You talk about Sydney, you can go a kilometre east, west, and south, and the market changes, and then you go another kilometre, it changes again. So there's markets within markets, and I just don't think that it's generally, you can say that markets come off 10, 15 or 20%. In certain areas it has, in others it hasn't. And
absolutely. Absolutely. There's been a lot of areas which have, their stock levels remained relatively low.